Good evening from New York. I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Journeys. Welcome to another edition. My guest this evening is a son of our soil, Mr. Ron Bobb-Semple. As a matter of fact, I will just bring Ron on right away. And Ron was just telling me that we've lost one of our greats. Ron Bobb-Semple, good evening and welcome to CWS Journeys.
Yes, good evening, Selwyn. And first of all, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to appear here on Conversation with Selwyn on the 5th anniversary of your celebration. And
that's next year. Next year is the 5th anniversary.
Next year is the 5th. Well, tempest few get. So, but yes, Selwyn, we've lost a son of our soil, a music icon in Douglas Daniel, more popularly known as Mickey D. Mickey D played with Nona Paul and the Playboys back in Guyana, also with a group solo, and also the Debonaires. And I had the honor and the privilege of emceeing the launch of his first stereo LP 45. It was referred to back in the early 70s at the Copacabana in New York City. Mickey made his transition on a Sunday in Miami, Florida, and he will be sorely missed. The brothers who are out there, excuse me, in the Miami area still playing, Reggie Paul and Winston Duggan and Jimmy Bullet Ray and Ron Molyneux, really torn apart because I know that Mickey also played with the group Callaloo that they had put together there in the Miami area. And for those of you who would like to, or who would be in the Miami area and even get to Miami, the funeral is this Saturday, this Saturday, and the viewing will be from 2 to 3 p.m., and then there'll be a service from 3 to 4. It will be held at the Grace Funeral Home, that's 770 Northwest 119th Street in Miami, Florida, of course, and the zip is 33168. That is this Saturday, the 27th of August, the celebration of life for our dear, dear friend, Douglas Daniel, more popularly known as Mickey D, made his transition. Again, that's Grace Funeral Home, 770 Northwest 119th Street in Miami, a zip code of 33168. Viewing from 2 to 3 and the service from 3 to 4. Thank you very much, Selwyn, for allowing me to say that just early in the program, and regretfully we had to open the program with imparting such news.
Well, respect is due, and let me take this opportunity to extend my deepest condolences to his family and to his family and relatives. I want to thank you for that, Ron Bobb-Semple. Ron, first of all, let me congratulate you on your recent award of the Marcus Garvey Award. Can you tell us a bit about the award and what it means to be so honored?
Selwyn, I have embarked on a project, a one-man cultural and educational presentation on the philosophies, the life, the ideologies of Marcus Messiah Garvey. And it started about a little over 30 years ago. And as you mentioned, I was awarded in Jamaica last Wednesday, August 17th, which would have been the 129th birthday of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey. And the UNIA branch there in Jamaica, the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, the organization that Garvey founded in Jamaica back in 1914, honored me with this prestigious award, the Marcus Garvey Award for the Arts. It meant a lot to me, Selwyn, because I did not embark on this project to look for accolades. It has lasted, as I said, now 3 decades, and I've had the opportunity to do my presentation. I do not refer to it as a performance, as many of your viewers may probably know that I am a professional actor. But what I do with Garvey is not an act. I've had the opportunity to take my presentation around the world, throughout these United States, in the Caribbean, specifically Bermuda, Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, the Virgin Islands. And I've also had the opportunity to take it to Senegal at the Angore Island, and also in Ghana at the Elmina Castle. And just about 4 years ago, I went on a tour of Europe, to Berlin, Germany, Stockholm, Sweden, Brussels, and to London. So I have been in my own inimitable style and my choice to, excuse me, to put this one-man presentation together. It was in the name of Marcus Garvey alive.
You know, Ron, I want to dig a little deep and explore Marcus Garvey's work a little bit. But before we get there, I want to twist this gem that is in front of us around Bobb-Semple and expose the various facets. And I want to do that by going into your early timeline. And so I'm going to ask you to give us a glimpse of like what it was like growing up in Guyana at ages 9 and 16.
Selwyn, 9 and 16, that's a couple of moons ago. I had a wonderful upbringing in that restrictions were not put on me. And I had the opportunity to, and this is something that I have maintained throughout my life. I've always found myself in the company of older, especially men, to learn from them, hanging around with older men and listening to their experiences. And in that time period, growing up there and working was in Georgetown, I did what most 8, 9, 10-year-olds do. You know, you fight every day, and at the end of the fight, you're friends.
Yes.
You surround yourself with such things as mining fish and bird and turkey and catching lizard and getting mud between your toes and catching cockabelly in the gutter, and all of these facets, I have molded this person that I am today. In addition to the fact that my dad, John Stephen Bobb-Semple, he was also an actor. But before I get there, after I started to mature and I'll go hanging out with the boys and, go and have a little tups and, using an akari seed and put it in an ant's nest, eat out the coconut and make yourself a pipe and, all these little creative things that I did. And when I went on to high school, well, before I go there, I must say that my mother, who was also was a teacher, she taught all of her children, all 4 of her children, at Trinity Methodist School, and I went to St. Mary's also, and then I moved on to Central. And my English teacher, I always will give her the props that she deserves, Miss Lucille Hall. She's now Mrs. Lucille Harper. And Miss Hall oftentimes called me to read in front of the class. And that is where I developed my confidence to stand in front of a group of individuals. Then it was my fellow students, and to read aloud. And I think that helped me with my projection, my articulation. And, when I'm in the street with the boys and you're talking about, hey, am I coming about you? And then my dad would lean his head out the window and said, Ron, what are you guys saying? I can't understand what you're saying. So I'm saying that to say this, Selwyn, that I used that when I got into the Theater Guild in Guyana, that I was able to use speaking that Creolese and just flipping on a dime to speak what we refer to then as the Queen's English, but speaking, very articulately. And that created this performer that you're chatting with tonight. So when I moved into my first production was at Central High School, and when I got an opportunity to audition at the Theater Guild, then, as I said, the rest is history.
You come from a family of very brilliant and talented people, Ron. How was growing up in this orchard of gifts impacted you as an actor?
I don't know if I was cognizant of it then, Selwyn. And it grew on me because my brother Keith,
yes,
who lives in New Orleans, he was one of the top violinists in Guyana, along with his good buddy Mewbourne Humphrey. And I remember when when the Queen came to Guyana and we all went to see her perform at the Queen's College and Keith played for her, we could not touch his hand for days. He shook the Queen's hand, and that hand was hidden for days. I don't know if he washed it when he got to the shower, but you could not touch Keith's right hand after he shook the And as I mentioned, my dad was also a singer and an actor and a broadcaster. And my brother Eri, who we lost back in 2008, he played with the Telstars, he played with the Jets. And so I was surrounded, my sister Yvette, and she is a singer, as you know.
Yes.
So I was surrounded with not just music, but drama, theater, and I remember one night we were around the table, and my dad was going around to everybody asking them, what they would like to be when they grow up. And I might have been about 9, 10 then, so I'm kind of regressing. And when it came to me, I'm the last of the four, asked me what I would like to do. And I said with confidence, I'd like to study money. I don't know where that came from. That's something that I wouldn't forget, but I wanted to study money. I don't know what has happened since then, but yes, Selwyn, I had a good time growing up. And in Norton Street, growing up there with the guys, 2 blocks down from the Lycan Funeral Parlor, and the Norton Street working it was a special group.
Yeah.
Looked out for each other. We hung out together, we fought together, we played catcher in the guava trees together. So all of that I think has molded me into what I am now, as far as being on top of your game.
Yes.
Because in this business in which I'm involved in, not only broadcasting, but also my theater and film and radio, you have to be on top of your game.
Yes.
Because I've told my children and many other children when I was teaching, you never get a second opportunity to make a first impression.
So very true.
So I have lived with that, to put your best foot forward.
Ron, what is your favorite memory of your parents? I know it's an unfair question because there are so many, perhaps, but what stands out for you?
I have to say my mother really stands out because Christabel Beatrice Bobb-Semple was a funny woman. She started teaching at the age of 16, and she retired from teaching when she was about 65. And to be around my mother, you don't know what she'll say, but it'll be something funny. However, she will ensure that that you stay on the straight and narrow. And I am so glad, Mr. Collins, that you asked me that question.
Yes.
Because I'd like to, speaking of my mother, and you talking about memories. One day, my mother went riding to do some shopping, and they stole her bike. Well, all 4 of us learned to ride on a dog belly, or a preggy, as we say. So the bike was stolen, and about a few days later, we got a notice from the police station that the bike had been found. So my mom got dressed to go out and asked me to go get the bike. So I went down to Bricktown Police Station and got the bike and brought the bike home. But my mom is all dressed and ready to go out. The bike ain't had saddle. It ain't had pedal. It ain't had no gear case. The brakes. So when my mother came downstairs and saw the condition of this bicycle, that look on her face was absolutely priceless. Because she couldn't go anywhere. You know, the bicycle could not have been ridden. But, you know, I mean, and I remember so vividly, man, I told that story at my mother's funeral, and that packed audience just went to pieces. But you know, I got some. My mom, I spent, excuse me, most of my life with her. She passed back in 2004, and you know, my dad had left to England, and he did his broadcasting, and he came back, and then he came to the United States. But my mother has really made an impact on my life, and she would always be amazed at the things she maybe see me doing, whether it be carpentry or gardening or whatever. And she'd like, where you all learn all that stuff from? I said, well, Mom, you know, I've been observant. You know what I mean? I would sit down and stand at the carpenter with doing some work on the house. You know, and at that age, I couldn't pronounce the word carpenter, so I used to call him carpent. You know, but these things I remember, and they have really helped me to create this person that I am, and it's something that I have passed on to my two wonderful children, Omar and Janelle.
You're the last of four, you said, right, Ron?
Yes, yes.
If your parents were to be describing you to a stranger, how do you think each of them, what do you think each of them would say about you?
My mother would probably say, he's a non-working millionaire. No, I'm just being facetious. That's something that she actually did tell me. But I think she had probably described me as someone who is who's understanding. You know, we've all gone through a lot, and now that we live in this world, this thing called a world that we're living in, I think a lot of our upbringing in the Caribbean, and specifically in Guyana, put down that foundation. And I wasn't always an A student. I did very well in French, I must say that. I loved English, but my problems were like geography. But when it came to expressing myself, especially on stage, that's when Ron Bobb-Semple goes out the window. And I am focused in on that character. And that happens every time I don that regalia during my Marcus Garvey presentation.
But Ron, when exactly were you introduced to acting, and what was your initial reaction to it?
I just felt good, as I mentioned, you know, during the English class. You know, I mean, Miss Hall, they always called me up, and then we were doing a play. It was an English play. Well, what else is new? We were under British rule. I think I was elected. I'm not too sure if I had auditioned.
Right.
But we did the play, and amazingly, during my radio broadcast, I had Hubert Devenish on my program. He lives in Jamaica right now, and he brought up that production at Central High School. I could not believe that he remembered it in such detail. So after I realized, not realized, but I was kind of comfortable on the stage. And folks liked what I did. So when the opportunity came to audition for the Theatre Guild, I just excelled. I excelled in that individuals like Mark Matthews and Ken Corsby and Francis Kwame Faria, because we were all in one production together, The Rogue's Trial. That was directed by Paulo de Paulo from Brazil back in 1968. And I realized that this is something special. You know, the confidence that I had on stage. And I remember specifically Ken Corsby saying to me, he said, "Ron, you've got talent." Then I didn't realize, you know, I mean, the depth of what he meant. And so when I came to the United States in 1972, I continued. even though I was working 9 to 5, I was still doing my theater. You know, and got the opportunity to work with quite a few pretty known actors. Yeah.
But
It-
Ron, what is it exactly about acting that appeals to you? Is it freedom to express yourself, to transform into somebody different? What is it?
the latter, the latter.
Ah,
To create this character,
uh-huh.
and you can take little things from yourself, little you steal your mannerisms,
Yes.
you know, from your grandmother, your grandfather, or anybody, even a fellow actor going to see a production, and you can mold this new character, and this is something that I don't enjoy witnessing when I see a particular actor
Mm-hmm.
in multiple productions, that I see the same character. I have made it a duty not to duplicate a character.
I wanted to wait until I really get into the nitty-gritty of Marcus Garvey, but I'm an obedient student, and you just open up something here to me. I have had the honor of seeing the production several times, and each time, you never get the sense that, oh my gosh, he has done this already. Why am I going to see it again? There's always something fresh.
You're referring to the Spirit of Marcus Garvey.
Yes. How do you manage that, Ron? And is it intentional?
It's a transformation, Selwyn. How I embarked on this, I think I should go there. I was sitting in a church on Union and Brooklyn. I think it was St. Mark's. And it was at a wedding, Saturday afternoon. And there was a series of stained glass windows the side of the church. And a young lady in front of me looked at it and looked at me and said, Ron, you have a resemblance of Marcus Garvey? I had not known much about Marcus Garvey then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about over 30 years ago. So I said, And I started doing my research. And then when I realized that what Garvey was saying 40, 50, 60 years prior to that, it's as if nothing had moved. He was way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
So I felt that I owed it to myself, not only as an artist, but out of respect for the UNIA movement, to keep his name and his spirit and his ideologies and philosophies alive. So I embarked on this one-man cultural and educational presentation. It started off at about 6 or 7 minutes. And it's now up to, it's a 45-minute version that I present, which I did on many occasions and in other countries. Once I donned that regalia, because I've been doing it in the regalia specifically, because Garvey was much more known, seen in that regalia. Once that regalia is donned, there's that transformation. Ron Bobb-Semple goes out the window. Mm-hmm. And as I was telling my good mentor and my who's been a cornerstone in my life here, where Garvey's concerned, Imhotep Gary Bird, I was on his podcast a few days ago, and I made mention of something that I did not realize it until it came out of my mouth. When I told him, I said, Imhotep, I cannot believe that after all these decades, 3 decades, that I am still able to do this presentation with the intensity that I do it.
Why do you think this is so?
Pardon me?
Why do you think this is so?
Because Garvey is still alive.
Yes.
It's the spirit of Garvey. And that's what drives me. Even though I've had my ups and downs, in preparation for this presentation, which is understandable. Not everybody's going to appreciate what I'm doing, but that's fine. I don't expect everybody to come on board with what I'm doing, but I have made a concerted effort, to continue keeping the name and spirit of Garvey alive. And to be honored there in Jamaica, the land of Garvey's birth, it was extra special, not only in the land of his birth, but on Wednesday, when I was presented with the award, August 17th, the birth date of Marcus Garvey, I did it at a place called the Somali Court. That was the premises where Garvey lived for 6 years, from 1929 to 1935, where his two sons were born.
That's amazing.
So to be able to do that presentation there on the premises, on the dirt, and the surroundings of where he actually lived, it's more fuel to the fire.
That's eerie, man. What being Guyanese, being a born Guyanese, and embodying this national hero. Right, Marcus Garvey. How do Jamaicans react to that?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Selwyn. I have run into a few Jamaicans, especially, I should say, when I was doing my presentation here at the University of South Florida quite a few years ago. And I was, distributing my flyers, and I went into a bank and I gave this flyer to an elderly woman. And she looked at it and she said, "Oh, Spirit of Marcus Garvey." I said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I was from Ghana." "Ah, well, you know what, Garvey?" And I was almost tempted to say, "Ma'am, I am sure that I know more about Marcus Garvey than you do." Because Garvey is not taught in the schools in Jamaica. There are a lot of Jamaicans that do not know who Garvey is, what he stood for. But when I walked out there over the last few days in Jamaica, and to see these thousands of Jamaicans recognize this image, and to hear these words of Garvey, they were absolutely flabbergasted. And they held me up.
Wow.
Even when I went to Senegal, Selwyn, and I did my presentation on Gorée Island, standing right above the door of no return,
wow,
where our ancestors left the continent for the last time. Those Senegalese, they lifted me up, and they took, when I got done with that presentation, Selwyn, I went into a room, sat, and cried like a baby.
Well, let me ask you this, man. Sorry about this. I got it. You just give me something. Something just came to me.
Yes.
But all these, not just the accolades, but the infusion of powerful spiritual energy from people who appreciate what you're doing. Now you're in a room with a group of young people, young Black children looking at you and hoping or expecting you to tell them about Marcus Garvey and what he actually stood for. 3 things that come to mind right away.
If we must have justice, we must be strong. If we must be strong, we must come together. If we must come together, we can only do so through the system of organization.
Awesome. I'll read a piece. I'll read something. A racial hierarchy, an empire for Negroes, Negroes' faith must be confidence in self, his creed, one God, one aim, one destiny. What stood out for you when you first read African Fundamentalism by Marcus Garvey?
That I could not believe that Marcus Garvey penned those words back in 1916.
Wow.
And here we are in this 21st century. And most of that is applicable today. And as I said earlier, it's as if nothing has moved. Garvey was so far ahead of his time, which is why I think he still makes an impact. It's a burning shame, that the government of Jamaica still to this day does not give Marcus Garvey the recognition that he deserves. August 17th, the birthday of Marcus Garvey, is only a holiday in the parish of St. Anne's where he was born. He's the first national hero. August 17th should be a special day for that entire island. I'm not saying to have a day off to go and jump up and drink up on, no, but a special day for Marcus Garvey. You know, and there's a whole lot of infighting, you know what I mean? And there's stuff that is going on there in Jamaica, brother. You know, that a lot of us who live outside don't know about. And I was not privy to, but I was made aware of when I was there for the last 6 days. You know, the Chinese are just doing a number in Jamaica. When I say doing a number, I'm talking about the Chinese have built a highway in Jamaica. It was just opened earlier this year. Unbelievable, because the last time I was there, for me to get from Kingston to St. Anne's, I got in a taxi and I was scared out of my wits how they drive on a highway that is, you know, not much, you know. And I'm looking down and I'm just seeing this drop because it's so places so mountainous. They have built a highway. Mm-hmm. And there's so many questions are being asked. You know, I'm not saying something that is not known, but there's a lot of concern that all of this money that the Chinese have poured into, even when you're going to the airport, there's some huge boulders that they have put all along the entrance to the airport to prevent, you know, I mean, the water rising and destroying the road. And Jamaicans are not very happy with what's going on. You know, we talk about even Guyana and Trinidad and Jamaica celebrating their independence this year. These nations are not independent. So when Garvey was talking about, rather than looking for the pie in the sky, why not plant the potato to make the pie?
Yes.
Yeah. So when nationals see all of this outside influence, they want to know, are they losing control? Because you know politics is a nasty game all over the world. Mm-hmm. I might have gone on a little too much.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Let's go with the spirit. It brings me to a quote: "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without
its roots."
Yes. When you hear those words, Ron, what are you present to?
The foundation that I was referring to a little earlier.
Amen.
That I got growing up in Guyana. Because I know a lot of individuals have made mention of the fact that back in the 70s, you know, when folks from the Caribbean, including Guyana, you know, came to the United States and started in the school system, that they found themselves just way ahead of their peers. And in many instances, they had to, because of the system, they just had to repeat. But that foundation that we got, I think, has held a lot of us instead. And then there are Guyanese all over this world who are doing extremely well.
Very true. Very true.
You know, I've had the opportunity, you know, of course, the Guyanese on the continent. When I went to Sydney, Australia, we're there. Of course, we're in Brooklyn. But yes, those roots took me back to our foundation.
Let's take a quick break, Ron.
Absolutely.